Hey guys, it's Mickey again. I have with us today Lenka. What is your last name, Lenka?
Kaloma.
Kaloma. I call her Sheriff Lenka because she's the first de jure sheriff that I've ever met out of Orange County, California, and what she's accomplishing out there. And then we've also got Joshua James, Sheriff Joshua James. He is the first de jure sheriff of the Republic of Texas. And that's an exciting story to sort of tell as well. And so we're going to talk a little bit about sheriffs. We're going to talk a little bit about what does de jure mean. We're going to talk a little bit today about some of the assemblies that you guys have been taking part in and forming, and some of the townships that are coming together. And maybe we can also talk next steps. So welcome.
Thank you for having us, Mickey.
Yeah.
What an honor.
I was even saying before we started recording, I just feel so fortunate because we basically have a divine feminine and a divine masculine, both stepping up as protectors of the light. This is a big deal. This is a big veil that these two are breaking through. And sometimes it's about just drawing attention to that so that we can get more people on board with what you're doing. And I just think it's glorious. So Lenka, you've had a busy morning. You want to tell us about that first?
Yes. So first, let me do a little introduction so people know what really de jure sheriff means. So right now, as you've seen, we are literally under attack by domestic enemy. That's the worst kind of enemy you can have, right? Because we've been literally born into fraud. Fraud is everything we know. So a lot of people have been waking up. So I kind of started my de jure sheriff journey about 2 years ago when the whole pandemic broke loose, right? I've been on this journey for 20 years, just researching, putting things together. I come from communist Czechoslovakia by my origin, so I know what's going on. I know what communist takeover is about. My family has been, through the Nazi era, where you basically have men with guns coming and taking over your home. So this is in my blood. So 2 years ago in California, we've been under major attack where moms and dads would be arrested for going to stores, shopping for their children, for their families, which was absolutely unacceptable. So I, was looking around and I was waiting, well, is someone going to be helping them? And of course, unfortunately, we realized that we do not have law enforcement. We do not even have code enforcement because they would not even enforce their own codes. And when I say they, I mean the corporate government that we have on our hands. And unfortunately, the sheriff department and their deputies, they are on the deal. They are on the scheme, the fraud, the constructive fraud that we are dealing with. So
it's like lockstep. It's literally lockstep. And that was the agenda, right?
Right. Absolutely.
It's a criminal syndicate.
Yes, it's people do not realize that the mask, it is not just something simple. This is satanic ritual they've been pushing on people. Not to mention that oxygen is #1 nutrient. I'm a holistic practitioner, so I know the importance of oxygen. But this is signaling. This is the satanic ritual signaling what these, satanic corporations masquerading as government have been engaging in, right? We know that we are losing some 800,000 children every year through the corrupt system right in front of our eyes. I am on Orange County, and it's one of the most horrific just satanic things what they are doing, and people don't even realize
ripping children from their families through the court system.
And this is through the CPS, which is part of the private for-profit corporations that are masquerading as our government, right? So it's really very critical times we are in. So anyway, when I saw what's really going on, that now moms and dads are being arrested for going to get shopping done for their children. So I knew that someone needs to do something, and I'm looking around and there was no one. Yeah. So I had to become the one. So we started to organize groups of people going shopping, and they would be calling the police, they would be calling the sheriff's department, and it was literally being in the battlefield. But I've trained my moms and dads how to exercise their rights, how to put these, I call them, it's just almost unreal what's going on. these men who put on these uniforms, badges, and guns, and are perjuring their oath. So I would be disqualifying them. You know, it many times came very close, but I am literally under a divine protection, because all we have to do is really stand in the light, in the truth, in the law, and be the men and women of honor. So that's what started it. And then as we were assembling, as people were assembling to stand up to this tyranny, they basically said, well, you know, we need to fill the true sheriff's position, the de jure sheriff. What that means is of the people, for the people, by the people. And so on July 15th of 2021, I've been affirmed. I've been affirmed by the people to step up and fill the position of de jure sheriff. So I'm part of the Declaration of Independence. I am affirmed by the organic Constitution of 1849, and with my autograph and with my seal. And here is my badge.
What a badass.
But what does it really mean to be de jure sheriff? You know, this is completely different role we are taking. There is absolutely no violence, right? We are people of honor, and we just want law and order on our land and for our people. So, you know, I don't need violence. I don't need force, because I am the extension of the source, extension of God, and the power comes from the within. So just to give you an example, today, I literally just came back from court, from Superior Court on Westminster here on Orange County, and amazing things are happening. We have on February 25th of this year, we filed. Let me see, where is the front? This is 500-page declarations of crimes committed. Let me open it here. Committed against 15 million Californians through the corrupt court system. The politicians are on it, the district attorneys are on it, the police are on it, the sheriff's departments are on it, and this is how they fail. They're for-profit private prisons, which funds the so-called government. People don't realize, people think that they pay their taxes and that's for what's funding their government. No, it's this corrupt corporate for-profit court system and the prisons. 70% of prisoners today are there for no crimes. They did not injure anyone. They did not commit any crimes, because for crime to exist, there has to be injured party. There has to be someone who filed a complaint, right? If someone is arresting you, that you run a red light, I don't recommend that you run red light, but is the red light going to come and issue a complaint and for you to be arrested or to be detained, whatever it might be? Of course not. So we need to start applying common sense. This is why we run by common law. But anyway, today.
Well, really quick. So just to confirm, 70% of the state's income comes from these penitentiaries as well. So they're drawing money from the Sesta KV Trust of these prisoners, holding them in prison, even though they didn't break the 10 commandments or do harm or trespass.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like the lost souls. It's like literally like the people that have been taken from us and we thought we were being protected, but really people were being imprisoned, falsely imprisoned. And this goes all the way back to the original Magna Carta times when, like, I think it was King John was falsely imprisoning people. So this is why we have this as part of our Bill of Rights, so that we have a right to a fair trial, an immediate, a quick, fair trial, wherein we can invoke trial by peers. This is what's supposed to be the case. And so, yeah, this criminal syndicate, this mafia, have been feeding them and filling their own coffers with money coming from the Sesta KV Trust of prisoners.
That's correct. That's correct.
This is crazy.
They are held as sureties, right? And this is how they fund themselves. It's $1 trillion per month they receive through extortion.
And that's in just California or all of the United States?
All. This is what they make. This is how they fund themselves. Because you have to remember, people think that, well, by paying taxes, I'm providing for this. No. That's paying on the national debt to the international banksters, right? And
to London. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so today we had a hearing on one of the cases that's basically part of this 500-page declaration. And this is a work of 12 years. We have an amazing private attorney general, Adriana Estevez. So today we assembled to go to the hearing because the judge was already disqualified. He forged documentation in regards to his financial things on the form 700, and so he was ordered to recuse himself, and he refused to recuse himself. So today, actually it was on Friday, May 13th, an arrest warrant and a writ of attachment was issued, okay, by we the people. Here it is, and I will read to you what exactly it means. This is very, very important. This is basically in support of the 15 million people on California that's been robbed, injured, damaged through these corrupt judges who've been taking homes, who've been taking children. And that's just some of the cases. That's not all of the cases. So just imagine, right? So here it reads. It was invoked by the Common Law Court International and Enforcement Agency, Dejure 1776, State of California. Comes now Private Attorney General Adriana Estevez, and operating in a judicial tribunal capacity for and of the people of the state of California, Arizona, Nevada, and Texas, pursuant to the Declaration of Independence and invoking General Orders number 100, the Lieber Code, prepared by Francis Lieber, promulgated as General Order number 100 by President Lincoln, 24 April 1863. Special instructions to the government of the armies of the United States in the field, and invoking today a distress call. Mayday, Mayday. We, the people, are being attacked by the people who are entrusted to be our public servants, invoking Article 33 and Article 38 of the General Orders number 100, Lieber Code, and any other articles that may apply for the defense of the people.
Wow. And this is a calling for a judicial tribunal. Well, that's very different from an administrative tribunal. Do you want to talk?
Correct. That's correct, because the administrative, processes have been exhausted, right? So now we are going to the judicial, and we are now invoking Mayday call.
What people don't realize is that they actually have higher ground when they take on common law, or when they take on higher law forms like nature's law. And so Joshua, I want to bring you into this discussion because you're an expert on this as well. And you're also an expert on the concept of deputizing the public. Can you tell us a little bit about your story so that we can loop you into this conversation, and then talk a little bit about the future remedy that you see?
Sure. Where should I start?
Well, tell us how you became interested in becoming a de jure sheriff, and how did you learn about this Republic of Texas, which is really just a reestablishment. I keep reading the word because it's not a resurrection. It's like reestablishing the original republic, right? Which Texas has been on the fight for. They've been fighting for this ever since it was taken from them, or ever since their offices were vacated in 1871.
Correct. So I had decided to run for the corporate sheriff of Bernalillo County here in New Mexico, because I was not seeing anybody else stepping up to the plate, and not hearing anybody talking about what needed to be discussed, the true issues, the true problems, the reality of what's going on, everything Lenka was just talking about. And through that, well, I actually went to a David Straight conference here in Albuquerque back in September, which is where I learned about the Republic of Texas. Since the Republic of Texas started taking our Zoom classes so that they could become American national, and they invited us to come out there and speak on that. And while I was out there, they decided, after I had spoke to their meeting, that they would love to have me as sheriff if I would take the job. So I happily took the job.
So just so everyone knows, the Republic of Texas is a much larger territory than people realize. If you look at the original maps, it includes half of New Mexico. So that's why don't be confused at the fact that, yeah, he's running for the corporate version of sheriff in New Mexico, but then he was invited to go hold that office for the Republic of Texas because the territory actually overlaps, right?
Correct. So
Which is
everything
kind of cool because, you know, the treaties and all that will come back into play once it's recognized by the people. More of the people, more of the force majeure, right?
Right. The Republic of Texas, the Supreme Court ruled that the Republic of Texas supersedes the state of Texas. The Hague recognizes the Republic of Texas as a de jure government. And the Texas Civil Code actually states that the Republic of Texas and the state of Texas hold control. Of course, the Supreme Court ruling supersedes that civil code. So basically the Republic of Texas holds all power.
This is beyond exciting, you guys. I don't think people realize how exciting this is because the state of Texas is in all caps. It is a pirate. You wouldn't even call it a corporation. It's an agency. It is a foreign agency on our soil acting as our government. That's there's so many remedies for that. People don't even realize that just basically filing an affidavit with a true bill, it is a $250,000 fine, you guys, for anyone to impersonate a publicly elected official. Just the impersonation factor, yet alone sign a faulty oath of office to a corporation, aka an agency, aka a mafia. So for the Texas to reclaim and restore their republic is just the first of many dominoes to follow, because Texas is in itself its own nation. It has its own constitution. And once you guys reclaimed it, you can go back to the original constitution, because all fraud vitiates fraud after they basically vacated their offices in 1871 and came back as a corporation. So the revised version of the constitution in Texas can be wiped away. All that can be wiped clean. And you guys have started to restore your Title III, sorry, I always say Title III, Article III common law courts. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. We started our first common law court. We're right now opening up 2 more common law courts. And here soon, here in New Mexico, on the New Mexico part of the Republic, we will be opening up our court as well. So we have a few more positions that we're trying to fill, some things that we're working on. And the only thing that doesn't make the Republic of Texas, give the Republic of Texas an international status right now, is because we're not registered through the UN. And of course, we know that the UN is not a de jure, it is a de facto agency, if you want to call it that. So it's not like we're going to go and register with the UN anyways, because we all know that anybody who didn't agree to join the UN were generally taken out by the mafia with, bombs and missiles and such. So I think it's important now that we realize the UN was never there as a peacemaker. They were there as the little horn, the kingdom that rose up, that was smaller and different from the rest, with the face of a humanitarian effort. So anyway, that was deep, I know. Let's bring it back. So all right. So Joshua, talk to me a little bit about your assemblies, what you guys teach in those assemblies. I know that people can find you at americas-assembly.com. And like I've told people, this is one of my favorites because you guys have over 10,000 people. You're running Telegram chats twice a week, right? And you've got one for beginners, one for advanced. And what I love about what he's doing is he's setting up a standard nationally so that we can then do this locally, because someone has to come forward and teach what it means to be a good sheriff, what it means to be a protector of the people. So do you guys want to each talk a little bit about what you think de jure means and what the new standard should be for sheriffs?
Sure, I can start.
Yeah.
So most people don't realize how powerful position of the sheriff is and why it was created. It's a very old position and post to hold. And the reason that position was created to create a buffer between the people and the government, right? Because our founding fathers, they knew what the government can do, right? So they wanted to have an independent party that will always ensure that people's rights are not violated, trespassed on.
Mhm.
So that's the number one and only job of true sheriff to do, to ensure that his people or her people are protected, right? So true sheriff, and believe me, it's you will hear, well, he is a good constitutional sheriff. That literally like makes me grinch my teeth, because there is no such thing. It's an oxymoron to be constitutional sheriff. Sheriff either is constitutional, or here's a career politician and a traitor, okay, and a criminal. So sheriff needs to be absolutely 100% constitutional. So if he is not constitutional, he's part of the constructive fraud. Very important. And I get many comments. People say, well, he is good, he's helping us here, and we need to re-elect him. Well, I always tell people this. Okay, just ask your sheriff if he has his deputies on the streets pulling people over for these traffic infractions where no one got hurt, no one filed complaint, because for them, in order to detain and arrest anyone, there has to be a complaint, right? So if your deputies are doing that, you are already perjuring your oath. If you are allowing agencies like CPS coming to your people's homes and removing their biological property, you are violating your oath of office again. If you are allowing agencies such as IRS, just to mention one, right, to be infringing on people's rights to life, liberty, and property, well, you are perjuring your oath once again.
Wow.
So find me a sheriff that's actually protecting people's rights, the Bill of Rights, that people have the right to life, liberty, and property. People are sovereign. People do not own anything to these corporate masquerading like government agencies. So show me a sheriff today that's actually doing the job.
Great question. How about you, Joshua? What does de jure mean to you?
I don't think I could have said it any better. You know, did a great job.
Yeah.
Of course, for me, running for the corporate sheriff, the main objective, obviously, I mean, we want to win, if that's possible in this rigged system. But if anything, it's to bring the narrative to the forefront, to bring the narrative about the de jure sheriff, about people's rights, and about the rigged election. So as the corporate sheriff, I will not be taking a paycheck, and I will be setting things straight, because even in their corporate system, because even their corporate constitution states in the very beginning that they still must uphold the original constitution. And even in their codes and statutes, it says that all rights are guaranteed. So we're bringing this conversation to the forefront. Everywhere I go, I just had a sheriff's forum last week with 5 of the Democrat sheriffs in a Democrat crowd. So it was very interesting I was definitely a cog in their wheel. They weren't expecting a Republican to show up, and much less somebody talking de jure sheriff and teaching people. I was surprised at how many people in that Democrat crowd, and the very progressive crowd, the applause and the hoot and hollers I got for the things that I was saying. These people realized that I'm telling the truth, that we are telling the truth, that we are showing them what they weren't able to see. They've been seeking for answers of what to do and how to do it without the knowledge of which direction to go. And those of us that are presenting it to them, it's hitting home. And so hopefully we can bring a de jure sheriff here to Bernalillo County. And of course, the de jure sheriff position will exist in the Republic of Texas.
Yeah. And so let's first talk about, I want to talk about the surety bond that you said is curing for you as a de jure sheriff. Can you speak about that? And you said that that should be part of the new standard, that in fact, a lot of every public official should carry a surety bond to the people, not to their constituents from within their own organization, but to the people. And you said that there was a curing process, like that actually was a process for you to get a surety bond.
I am not bonded. The Republic Constitution says nothing about bonds, although it is something that we've been talking about, adding for all elected officials. But the bonds that our group has curing has nothing to do with the sheriff position.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I might have mixed the two up.
It's all good.
I would like to add to that. Actually, if you look into the very organic and original position of the sheriff, actually you do have bond. Your bond is your word. And right. Stepping up into the position of Dejure Sheriff, you are basically bonded by your word and also by everything you own. So you don't need to go to the corporate entities and get a bond. This is serious position, right? And so when I was taking my affirmation to my oath, I knew that I am bonding everything I own, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Mm-hmm. Because I'm here for my people.
Yeah, it's almost more of a servant's heart.
Yep, I'm a servant.
Yeah. And that's why we called them public servants, because they were willing to sign an oath to the public, and the word is your bond. Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't draw any salaries, nothing, right? Because I am of service to my people, because no one else is.
That's fascinating. So, okay, so let's say a sheriff wants to become de jure, or they want to learn what it might be to restore their republic. What are the first steps they do? And so Lenka, you are currently a de jure sheriff of the people. You are elected by the people, not necessarily by the county.
That's correct.
And so you're recognized by your township.
I'm not elected by the corporation. I'm elected by the people.
And so how does one get one of you in their town? Do you know what I mean? Like, do they just start forming their assembly and just vote up someone and like, you're our protector from here on out?
That's correct. So we have to remember, right, that Congress left the session when Lincoln took over as a president, as a bar attorney, right? Mm-hmm. And it has never returned. So people are now populating the counties, and they are filling up the positions. And so I was appointed because my people saw the work I was doing on the front line. I was not applying for some job because I was plenty busy fighting on the front lines, but they needed me, and I accepted the post, and that's basically, it happened very naturally. It was literally divine intervention. It's all God's work, right? And so it just happened very naturally, and I love to serve my people. So, like, for example, today, when I go to these courts, they question me many times, right? To these corporate for-profit McDonald's courts, right? That's literally what it is. And I explained to them, well, you can, you decide which part of history you want to be. You want to be part of the racketeering, the constructive fraud, or you want to be on the side of we the people. Well, I know where I belong. I'm with my people. And, my oath of office is my bond, as I mentioned. And, I disqualify deputies all the time, the corporate deputies all the time. This morning, I had to disqualify about 3 of them.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. So, okay. So when you say, all right, let's talk about the remedy. It's been really hard for us to follow through with common law and actually get the remedy, because these are pirates and they just take steps back. They rarely take themselves off the board, and they never say good job because we're playing a very intricate game of chess. So with the affidavit process, with the notice of claim, which is a true bill. So what you're doing is you're calling someone out with basically truth and fact under penalty of perjury. Here's the crimes that you've committed, and here's what you owe me. Well, to date, it's been really hard to get like complete remedy, as in you literally have to go all the way through the steps of, giving them their 30-day notice, their 60-day, 90-day, and then you have to put a lien out on their property. And unless you have a sheriff that's going to help you process that. So what is different in an Article 3 common law court? Is it a judicial tribunal? Are we entering into a situation where we can finally get some remedy from these crooks?
Yeah, absolutely, because this is actually simple. You have to remember that the enemy, they thrive in complications and confusion, right? But the sheriff basically is such a powerful position that when he or she receives a complaint via form of affidavit, this is sworn on, under pains and penalties of perjury, that I was injured, something happened to me, so I create a complaint via form of affidavit because I'm ready to go to jail if I lied, right? So everything has to be based on truth, facts, law, and evidence. So I submit this to my sheriff, and the sheriff reviews everything. Obviously it's notarized, and he calls the grand jury, right? The grand jury assembles, and then the case is being brought by the grand jury. So the injured party invokes their own court. So I will be invoking my own common law Lenka's court, right? And I have
with a jury of peers, people that know you.
That's correct, right? And that's actually who the sheriff appoints. The foreman of the jury, and it's a very simple process. It's a very simple process. We basically bring the claim, the complaint, in front of the jurors, and we have justice in peace, who is not there to set, how this is going to be ruled, but just to ensure that it's constitutionally compliant, because that's job of the judge, right? Judge is a referee. He's there just to make sure that the law is in compliance, that that the law is being followed. And then
is the name of the judge in the common law court, is that a justice of the peace? That's the new criminal.
Justice in peace. Yes, that's correct.
Because they're a justice. They're there to provide justice and peace, and that's it. They're not there to rule or sentence.
Correct. That's correct. Because what we have today, we have bankers. We have bankers sitting in a private for-profit corporate McDonald's courts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about banking. Why do you think that they have so many of these agents on the streets, right? Because they are literally extorting people for their autograph. That autograph is on behalf of the principal, the owner of the court. And yes, all those courts have owners. They are privately owned, establishments. And so he is there, the police officer, the deputy is on the roads to basically bring customers in. And so they issue a ticket. This is why the autograph is boxed in, because they are extracting that autograph to bring it to the principal at the court where the bonds are being issued. It's the bid, performance, and payout bond, right? Mm-hmm. And then they are calling you as the living man to come in the McDonald's court, because you are presumed to be the surety. Mm-hmm. While in fact, you are actually the creditor. You are the secure party creditor. You are the beneficiary. You shouldn't even know about this. If they want to access your trust, fine, go ahead, access the trust. But I'm the beneficiary. So Mr. Judge, how am I benefiting from this theater?
He's giving you free room and board in a prison near you.
Right?
It's crap. Oh my gosh, I so love you guys. I'm telling you, I feel like when sheriffs start out, their goal is to be the hero of the town, the protector. That is what a lot of the personality types of the police officers that I know, and the people that would love to carry this responsibility and to be, the superhero of the city. What can someone do if this is like resonating with them and they want to step up in their township and make a difference? Should they just learn this stuff inside and out, get up on stage and start speaking to the people, start protecting them, just enter into that realm? Or how do they start?
Well, let me tell you, they need to start in their heart. Okay. They need to really reach in their heart and decide, if they are going to be there for the money or for the people. So this is really a matter of consciousness, reaching into your heart and deciding your republic is literally being stolen away from you. Which side of the history do you want to be on? And so unfortunately, most of these people, and I will say it, they are money whores. They are money whores. Okay. And let me explain to you why. So our sheriffs just here on Southern California, they earn $500,000 to $700,000 a year in compensation, right? So they have wives, they have their lifestyles, right? They have their children, they have their lifestyles, right? And so the sheriff is a provider, right? So it's a job. So now it's very hard for the provider to decide, well, I'm going to just do what's the right thing, and I'm going to be a true sheriff because that's you know, the oath of office I took. It's a matter of consciousness, Nikki.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, but we know that we are in spiritual war. And I tell you, and this is a message to all of you public servants, including police and sheriff deputies, that you still have time to decide. Because you will not be able to escape the supreme judge, okay?
Yeah, because the
No
people
one
are
is.
escaping from the curse. The curse is being lifted. The curse, the cursor, the spelling, the spell casting, the sentencing, it's all being lifted. We won't stand for it anymore.
No, we
We all
won't.
know now.
And I would like to also mention one more thing is the moment you perjure your oath and you are carrying out these unconstitutional criminal orders, now you are warring against the people. You
Yeah.
are warring against the Constitution, and you are warring against the Republic. And this is treason. And you
it's
know,
better to just walk away and resign at this point. Really, I
absolutely,
mean, just take your
absolutely.
money and
come
walk.
walk
You
and
know,
come with the people. Come
mhm.
with the people. There might be a little bit, you know, tough transition, but you know what? Just buckle up a little bit. You know, I've done it. Other people can do it.
And people will welcome you in if you do the right thing.
Absolutely.
There's always that opportunity. That's one of the things, again, that I'm liking in some of this affidavit process. They're giving people 3 options, and that is you can resign, you can sign a new oath to we the people, or you can roll the dice and hope that your pirates come save you. But trust me, they're not going to, because not in this type of takeover, you're going to be the first one to go. You know, you're just a pawn. That's the other thing, is that they've been used in a way. They were well paid, you know, but they always knew that they were acting out of fraud. So is it even worth the money? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it even worth it to know that you're kind of not in balance? Well, so Joshua, I wanted to talk to you too, because you've mentioned deputizing the people. What does that mean? What does that look like as it rolls out, when the people feel that they can protect themselves and their communities as peace officers in a peaceful transition of power?
Well, there is the people's posse. So anytime the sheriff felt that he needed help against any sort of tyrant or thug or anything that was disrupting the pursuit of happiness of his county, he has the ability to initiate the people's posse. So under our Constitution, our veterans are guaranteed a job in law enforcement. So I will put a call out to the rest of the country as well, that I will be deputizing our veterans. So if you want to move to Bernalillo County, I will deputize you. And then we're going to utilize our vets to vet the former sheriff's deputies and police officers, because I will be taking over the Albuquerque Police Department as well. And our vets will vet the people as well, so that we can have the largest sheriff's department in the country. You know, we're the absolute worst here in Bernalillo. We're #1 in homicide, #1 in car burglary, home burglary, theft, you name it, we're at the bottom of the list. We are last. Education, hunger, everything. So I keep explaining to the people, what do we have to lose? Do we want to bring up one of these 11 candidates for sheriff that have been involved in our system, the worst system in the country, for 15 to 47 years? Or do we want to bring in somebody who's never been a part of that corrupt system and open up the doors so that we can all see what's going on? But the people's posse will be helping the sheriff so that we can police our own communities. Nobody loves their community more than the people in that community. Typically, no matter where you're at around the country, whether it's police or sheriff's deputies, state police, whatever, they do not operate in their own community where they live. They operate somewhere foreign, and they don't know their neighbors. We want all of our deputies to know their neighbors, to know who everybody is, just like you want your jury of peers. to be somebody that knows you, that knows your character, your intent. They know what you've done throughout your life. They know how you've corrected yourself, all of that stuff. So
I love that. And I love that you guys are self-activating. So many people are waiting around for a savior, but the savior showed us the way. Now we need to take it and walk in his footsteps. And what I feel like a lot of people have asked me this, and I know you've got mixed reviews on this, Joshua, and that is that once they reclaim the republic in Texas, you actually have the right to invoke or call upon the national military. But because everyone remembers the time of Antifa and all the, well, what were they calling them? They were calling them peaceful protests, which weren't. But remember, Trump kept saying, I can't go in unless the governor calls me. Well, when you take back and you reclaim your republic, you can call in the national military. What are your thoughts on that? I know you've had mixed reviews on maybe calling upon the military in Texas to help out with removing some of those prisons and those courts and some of the bad actors.
I think basically our militaries have been corporatized just like everything else. So I think calling upon the veterans themselves, because they took that oath and they intend to take that oath to their grave. I hear it all the time from them. Mm-hmm. So I believe calling on the veterans as well as our militias is kind of a way to call upon the military. By all means, I will make every effort possible to call on all the help that we can get to bring the protection. But I'm not going to count on anything corporate to come to our safety. I will count on the people that love their communities.
Yeah, I like that. Because again, we're all becoming active in the script that's playing out, right? Because we're all part of this script. I mean, I don't think people realize that the DNA is a script and you're playing it out, and we're all playing out our Akashic record. And it's so beautiful when I see an activation of spiritual beings. Like literally, I can just feel, again, I can feel your Nordic energy of the ancients coming through. Like it's just so powerful. And so I just, and Joshua, you're such a protector by nature. It's like, you can feel it in your presence. When I met you in California, and obviously we all met together and it was a really wonderful trip. Do you guys want to leave any last minute comments for anyone aspiring to become a sheriff?
Yeah, just reach into your heart and your love for your country. Remember the great sacrifice our founding fathers gave to us, and remember that America is the greatest experiment ever, right? We are the vision for the world, and the world is watching, right? Because the American sovereignty is unlike anywhere in the world. And so, yeah, we need you people. We need you, brothers and sisters, and just, step out of your fear, come with us into the light, and it's very rewarding. So I appreciate everyone who is watching, and thank you, Mickey and Joshua. It's just super exciting times to be alive.
Do you have a website, or do you have an assembly that you're a part of?
I am part of the California Assembly. So it's the CaliforniaAssembly.com. Mm-hmm. We also have Orange County Assembly. And so we are across the whole California. I'm also private counsel if people need help to fight and stand up any of these tyrannical agencies. So they can reach me at Kaloma Associates at yahoo.com. And yeah, so we are just having a lot of fun and doing amazing things here.
I love it. You know what? Before I take your final comments, Joshua, I want to add something. I hope it's okay, Lenka. I'm going to draw attention to a court hearing that you had invited me to, and you had invoked a jury by peers. This happened about a week and a half ago. And a young woman, the courts and the county and the lawyers had conspired against her to kind of rip her children away from her. And so 3 years ago, they came and they took her children. And at first she thought it was a total joke. She was a stay-at-home mom, wasn't making a lot of revenue, but suddenly out of nowhere, her boyfriend at the time and her stepmom started to kind of conspire against her. So the next thing you know, the courts took her children. And so she invoked a trial by jury. And you'd called some of the jury. I think there were 16 or 17 people that showed up. It was all virtual. We had a justice of the peace. We had counsel for this young woman. I'm not going to say names right now, but they went into deliberation. and this was a judicial tribunal. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
They went into deliberation and they came back and ruled that not only should she get her children back within 72 hours, but they also awarded her $300 million.
That's
just
correct.
over.
That's correct.
It was $100 million from the court, that corporation, $100 million from the county. And then it was basically a total of $100 million. They tripled the true bill on each of the lawyers and those that were basically involved in conspiring to rip her children away. So this is huge. I mean, this is huge. So their first step is to take the recorded trial and the writ of judgments signed by each of the jurors, and they recorded them with the justice of the peace who carries the seals for the court. And then they have to file it with their sheriff, which in this case is their corporate sheriff. So if he does nothing, he becomes an accomplice, and they can file direct with the Treasury. So when we see these types of remedies, people are going to want to learn this stuff overnight. You know, they're going to want to know how they can get their children back.
Right, and also justice, right? Because people need to remember that, you know, if you've been injured, if you've been damaged, if you've been trespassed on, you know, there needs to be compensation. You know, like yeah, and we don't. I always tell these people, you know, you want to trespass me, is that an order? Because I will gladly fulfill your order, but you know, I don't work for cheap, and you might not like my pricing. But so if you don't like my pricing, don't do business with me.
That's a conditional acceptance.
Exactly.
and it's one of the highest forms of walking in honor. So it's a good example of that. And we're doing it all the time. It's like, if my son comes and asks if he can play video games at the age of 13, I'll say, sure, but you got to do the dishes first. That's my conditional acceptance, right? Well, in our case, sometimes the conditional acceptance will be like, sure, you want to be unjust. I'll just give you my conditional acceptance offer, which is, you're trying to violate these, you're trespassing on me, and this is your price. So since they can't prove they're not trespassing on you, it doesn't go past the conditional acceptance. Does that make sense? So it's an easy way, it's the future way for us to call people out and to set our boundaries, in a sense, right?
That's correct. Well, in the future, we will not have to do that, right? Because we are restoring our de jure government. So this will not be happening. Right now, we are still dealing with pirates on the roads.
Yes, totally. Joshua, what do you think? Do you have any final words for people who'd love to become a sheriff and be the hero of their town?
Well, like I tell everybody, you got to learn your constitutional authorities so that you can assert those constitutional authorities. So definitely start utilizing the sheriff, start writing those complaints, claims, start putting them to work, because they can't do anything without the word of the people. The other thing I'd like to throw out there, just like the way Lenka became sheriff, de jure sheriff of her county, I would like to see people experiment with putting in the entire government in all those vacant positions that are currently in their state and in their county. Start going through the same process like Lenka did to be elected to those positions, walk into those offices and reclaim them. Because I definitely we're seeing through the bonds for the win and through everything that there's things that they totally ignore, things that they shove to the side, things they laugh at. So we got to start taking it to the next level. We know that those positions are vacant, that they did not uphold their constitutional oath and duty, that they did not get bonded, and that they forfeited those positions. So let's experiment on taking back those offices.
I love that. I mean, I tell people a lot that, you know, this is a chess game. It's a long-term, this is a long game. You're in it for the long game. You made a move, they made a big backtrack. And in fact, a lot of the bonds for the win parents, they don't realize they took a piece off the board because they're not holding these masks on our kids anymore. And that was a big part of their agenda. You know, so they didn't want to take that piece off the board, if you will. They wanted to keep them, you know, in these indoctrination, no speak zones. Right. But at the end of the day, now you've audited them. And where were we before? We didn't audit them before. We got to take responsibility for that. We weren't managing our kingdom. You know, now we are. So what are you going to do with the new knowledge? Right. Now we got to really audit them and hold them to court and expect higher expectations and hold them accountable for the fact that they are impersonating a public servant.
That's right.
Yeah,
Just
cool.
like an abandoned home in most states, you can go take that abandoned home and reclaim it because it's abandoned. So when these offices are abandoned, we have to go reclaim them.
And we're talking
they're-
every single office, guys. We're talking, there were 37 states that had formed republics in 1875, 1871 when they were abandoned, which means they can be reclaimed. Even the state seals and the state flags can be reclaimed from the National Archive in your state. Your state is its own country. And technically, Trump doesn't really have jurisdiction over your state. He can only take jurisdiction over the republic as the 19th president of the republic and handle the foreign affairs. The domestic affairs were meant to be handled within the country of the state republic. So we're just going back to what was always the way it was meant to be under our Declaration of Independence. Do you know what I mean? Our Articles of Confederation and our original Constitution, which some might want to revise, which I wouldn't blame them, because that too was a security. It put us in debt. It put the countries in debt to the king. So people have to understand that, like, even the Constitution, we need to now take action and learn everything we can about our history and how it went south.
That's right. I hear all the time how our Constitution was removed, how all these things are gone. Everything good is gone. No, they can never, ever remove anything good. Only we can. So it's always there. Our capital still sits in Pennsylvania. Our Constitution still exists. Everything goes into exile, but it all still exists. And it's just floating around out there, and we have to reclaim it. We got to snag it, and we got to take claim to it, and we got to be loud with it.
Loud.
So-
We got to claim our body. We have to claim our state. We have to claim our children. We have to claim our house, our cars, our republics, and, you know, hold the public servants to, you know, our standard, which is beautiful. It's easy. It's easy, right?
It is easy.
Done. We saved the world. Good job, guys.
Now we can go to the beach.
Yeah. Woo! Let's do it. Well, actually, we just came off the water, so I'm just going to enjoy land for a little while. Let's get back our territory first, and then we can go on vacation. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining today. This was incredible.
Thank you. Love you
Thank
all.
you, Mickey.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll talk soon.